What's up, guys? Today I wanted to briefly introduce you to my latest top 300 big board for the 2022 NFL Draft. Uh, I've never actually done more than 210 players in the big board before. This time I'm up to 300, and I've done it early enough in the draft season. I feel fairly comfortable. I'll be able to refine this and make it a lot better as the year goes on. Right now, I just have it set to be sort of like I'm throwing mud at a wall. I just want to see what sticks. But I do want to introduce you to this big board. If you want to see it for yourself, you can go over to my Twitter. That's Sam_Teets, Teets 33 on Twitter. The link to my newsletter on Substack is pinned on my Twitter board. So you can go to just my Twitter account. It's pinned at the top. You can from there you'll be able to navigate and you can see all the articles I post. It's all free content. The top 300 big board is in there. So, and again, this is all just the draft. This is all early stuff I'm working on right now. I'm going to refine as I get to watch more of these guys as we get closer to the actual draft. We get to the combine, the Senior Bowl, everything like that, all the all-star games for seniors or upperclassmen. I broke it down in tiers. The first 5 tiers I really like. After that, I don't really care. And then we've got just the number rankings and the position ranks for every player for their specific spot. Aidan Hutchinson is my top player on the big board right now. He was so good in college. I know that maybe Thibodeau has more raw athletic potential. But Hutchinson himself is a tremendous athlete. He is one of the guys who's on that Bruce Feldman's freaks list, very high up there on the board because he's so strong. He's so athletic. He's very well balanced. He's a better athlete than I think most people expect, and he corners really well. This is a guy who's going to be able to turn and flex really well around offensive tackles going around the outside. He's got some pass rushing moves. He's got more pass rushing moves in my mind right now than Thibodeau, especially like his ability to attack the inside shoulder of offensive tackles. That's kind of a unique move that he's already developed. So I got those two guys sitting atop the big board, which I based purely on talent. I did not factor in positional value, which is why quarterbacks are much lower on my board than most other individuals. Kyle Hampton's number 3. This dude just is a freak athlete. And he's also got the unique build in this class that will transition to him being a kind of a one-of-a-kind safety in the NFL right now in terms of what he's built as. I think he's 6'3", 6'4". And he's up there in weight too. He's basically either a thin line, kind of like a thin linebacker, or just a massive safety. In my opinion, he's massive safety because he's so good in coverage, and he can do a little bit of everything. So Kyle Hamilton's probably going to be, if Isaiah Simmons was a safety, essentially, if Isaiah Simmons was better in coverage, in my opinion, that's what Kyle Hamilton is going to be in the NFL. Not a perfect comp, I'll give you that. I just kind of came up with that on the spot, but just an idea of how it might be used or what he's going to look like. Tyler Linderbaum, center for Iowa. He's number 4. Linderbaum's a bit of a smaller guy. He's 290 pounds. Probably will get up to 295, 300 once he gets to the NFL. But he's more of a scheme-specific dude, but damn, is he good in that scheme. He's so good right now. Easily the best offensive lineman, in my opinion, in college football. So Linderbaum, number 4. Number 5, Evan Neil. Number 6, Derek Stingley. I feel much more comfortable with the top 4 in this class than Neal and Stingley. I could see both of those guys losing their top spots because they're the top guys at their positions on my board right now. I could see both of them losing those spots before we get to the actual draft. Obviously, Stingley was incredible in 2019, like historically good. And Ebony Neil is the latest Alabama offensive tackle to kind of come out of that long assembly line of great offensive linemen from the Crimson Tide. Neal, very athletic. He's obviously got massive size. Anchors the line for one of the best offenses in college football. I think he's going to be better than someone like, I can't remember his name now. The tackle that came out last year from Alabama who went to the Raiders, who's playing guard now because he wasn't good enough to stick a tackle. I can't remember his name off the top of my head at this point, but he's been really bad this year. I think Evan Neal will be better than that. He'll be a true tackle in the NFL, in my opinion. Dropping down to tier 2, George Karlaftis at number 7. Trent McDuffie at 8. Kaiir Elam at number 9. That's probably, in my opinion, my weakest take of the top 10 guys. I feel at least comfortable with him being at 9 than anyone else on the top 10. I'll probably move him out of the top 10 in the future. I think I'm even going to drop him below Roger McCreary and Ahmad Gardner, just based on some of the stuff I reviewed recently. Some of his limitations in terms of the pure athleticism, the ability to kind of stick with some smaller shiftier players. I do like Elam a lot. I think he's going to be able to guarantee the lock as a first-round pick. I just don't know if I want to necessarily take him above someone like Ahmad Gardner, who will just press you into oblivion, or Roger McCreary. He's been very productive this year. Probably him, Gardner, and McDuffie I would view as the most productive corners in college football this season. Then Ike McGuanu at number 10. So he's my offensive tackle number 2. Okay, so I got 3 corners in the top 10, 3 edge rushers in the top 10. Devin Lloyd and Ekwonu are my only offensive tackles up there. Linderbaum being the only center or interior offensive lineman. Kyle Hamilton being the only safety. I'm just going to read you the top 30 or so to give you an idea of what my board looks like. And again, you can check this all out online. Just go to my Twitter profile, or I'll leave the link in the description of this video so you can go see it for yourself. Number 11, Ahmad Gardner, as I said, one of the most productive corners in college football this year. And when I say productive, I mean he just didn't allow receptions. He did not give up yardage. So maybe not the most passive defense during receptions, but you don't get an opportunity to have those big plays if you're just never targeted, because everyone's afraid to target you. And that's Ahmad Gardner this year. Number 12, Charles Cross, playing in a very unique offense in Mississippi State, something you won't see in the NFL. But he gets so many reps in pass production that you just get to see him develop over time. He's gotten much better in recent years. Allowed so few pressures this year and so many pass blocking snaps that I think some team's going to lock into him as being a bona fide left tackle, someone who you can cover your blind side and just not allow pressure that often in a league that's transitioning more and more towards pass-heavy offenses. Roger McCreary, I talked about, gave a lot of yardage against Alabama, but for the most part held up well against the Crimson Tide. He was targeted over a dozen times in that game, and I think he allowed fewer than 50% of completions. He had a really good game overall. It kind of gave up more towards the end against Mechie, but at that point, Auburn's defense has been out there for 45 to 50 snaps, so they've been out there for quite a while. Nicole Dean, not your traditional Mike linebacker. He's much smaller than that. He might even come in at potentially sub 6 foot. But he's going to be your modern coverage linebacker, the kind of guy you feel comfortable with sticking with tight ends or even slot receivers maybe for brief periods of time, running back to the backfield, that kind of stuff. He's been tremendous in coverage. Linebackers from college football have struggled to transition to the NFL and play elite coverage. I think Dean will be a guy who could buck that trend. Jameson Williams is my top wide receiver, something I don't usually apply. I don't usually go with the speed over route running or the speed over contested catch situations. I tend to avoid speed receivers. But Jameson Williams, to me, is a little more dynamic than that. He's more productive than someone like Henry Ruggs was during his time at Alabama. As I said, he's more dynamic in my opinion, and I view him as being this kind of guy who fits the modern offense perfectly. I don't know if he'll ever be a complete wide receiver, but this guy to me is someone who can lock into most offenses and be a guy who will get you 800 yards to 1,400 yards a year. And I think that 800 yards is the floor, which is still a pretty good floor for most wide receivers. You'd want more from that from first-round guys, but for a rookie receiver, 800 yards is not a bad thing. Jordan Davis at 16, obviously a tremendous interior defensive presence, just does not rush the passer well. And that's not to say, it's not to say he can't get pressure on guys. He can, but he's so often drawing double teams. The issue with him, though, is that he's just so big that he wears down fairly quickly. We saw Alabama do this to him. You get Jordan Davis stuck on the football field and run the hurry up so teams can't substitute, he gets worn down very quickly, and he's kind of dead on his feet by halftime. So there's limitations to his game despite the fact that he can be a tremendous nose tackle. 17, Marvin Liao. His edge rusher is an interior defensive lineman. He's got shorter arms. He's about 290 pounds. I would like him better as an edge rusher than just the base end, really. I don't think he's going to be a tremendous interior defensive lineman, although I think you can reduce him inside occasionally and get production from him in there because he's 290 pounds. He will have to rely a lot on his athleticism to kind of make up for the lack of arm size. He's been less productive this year than he was in 2020, but I still think he's a first-round caliber player. Sticking with the Texas A&M guys, Kenyon Green at 18, probably going to be a guard in the NFL, despite the fact that he did play left tackle against Alabama, and I don't think a lot of pressure in that game. So he's capable of playing tackle as well. Someone like Matt Filer, who used to play for Pittsburgh and now is playing for the Chargers, played both tackle and guard a lot. I think Kenyon Green could be a less successful version of that in terms of not being as good as tackle as Matt Filer was, but still being a very good guard. I think he's going to be a first-round pick. It's going to be close, though. I could see him dropping to the second round just because he doesn't really have a defined position, and there's no guarantee he could succeed at tackle in the NFL. Devin Lloyd, my second linebacker, to go in the top 20 at 19. Lloyd has just been so productive this year. He's more of your traditional Mike linebacker, a bigger dude. I think closer to 235, if I remember correctly. Like 6'2", 6'3", in that range. So much taller than Nicole Dean, carrying much more mass with him as well. but he's been really good in coverage. He's got incredible ball production this year. He's been really good as a pass rusher. So has Nicole Dean, actually. Nicole Dean's done well, but he's working with a more dominant defensive front than someone like Devin Lloyd, who's been productive as a rusher. He's been productive in coverage. Not going to be the pure coverage guy as Dean is. He's not going to be able to cover guys and carry them downfield the way Dean can, but still a guy who knows how, has a nose for football. He just makes incredible plays. Get some defensive touchdowns this year. Someone like that would be hard to leave off of the top 20 and leave out of the first round. Jaquan Brisker at 20, Drake London 21, Andrew Booth Jr. 22, and Matt Corral 23. Brisker, just an incredible playmaker for Penn State this year. A little bit undersized to be a pure box safety. I hope he gets to be a more dynamic playmaker in the NFL. Drake London, incredible in contested catch situations this year. And he's got the size and physicality to keep that up in the NFL. And he would have been the best receiver in college football this year if not for suffering an injury. And I really wanted to put him at wide receiver 1. I just never got around to it. Number 22, Andrew Booth Jr., incredible athlete, made some incredible plays on the ball. Really tough physical run defender, will come up and blow up screen plays. Just needs to play under control a little bit more. Sometimes loses his footing. It's not necessarily a lack of balance so much as he gets out of control a little bit. If he can clean that up, he'll be a easy first-round pick in my opinion. And Matt Corral, our first quarterback off the board at 23, kind of floating in the okay but not great spectrum right now in terms of quarterback play. I might even bump him down later on in the future because I like some of the guys below him more. And Corral, like I said, he's done well this year, but he's not done enough to really secure that QB1 spot firmly. You know, he could still lose it out to a couple of guys, in my opinion, right now, because he just has not played lights out football. You know, he's avoided making the mistakes he made in 2020. But he has not gone out there and had that this is your moment kind of game. He's not, that's why he's not a Heisman candidate. I mean, someone like Kenny Pickett might jump him because Kenny Pickett had big moments. Matt Corral, for the most part, did not have big moments this year. Number 24, someone I'm a little bit higher on than most people, Kingsley Enagbare from South Carolina. I think he recorded pressure on, was like 14 or 15% of his pass rushing snaps this year, which is really high. For the past 2 years, actually might be closer to 17% if I remember right now. So he's been a really tremendous pass rusher this year, and that's something that even guys above him haven't been able to match that, have not been able to match that pressure rate. So Enagbare, highly underrated. Some people should be watching more closely. Jordan Battle could jump Brisker for that second safety spot. He had some incredible games. I think it was one against Mississippi State was probably his best game this year, I believe. So he's made some good plays, and I thought he was really good in the SEC championship game as well. Kenny Pickett, we talked about him. He's had those Heisman moments. He's been tremendous this year. He might have been the best quarterback in college football this year. I know Bryce Young won the Heisman, but Kenny Pickett was right there with him. Drake Jackson, incredible athlete, really solid bender on the outside. Could be an outside linebacker on the larger side. Could be a defensive end. A little bit of fluidity there. I would like to see him more fleshed out where he'll play in the NFL, what system he'll work in the NFL. But I think he has first-round potential based on his athleticism and ability to develop and be a high-end edge rusher. Bernard Raymond from Central Michigan. Central Michigan has some really good offensive tackles right now. Raymond, again, has not faced elite competition per se, but he's newer to the position. He can still develop technically. I think he's going to be a first-round pick, maybe. He's going to be a top 50 pick for sure. First-round pick is probably not a lock for him, but I could see it happening. Garrett Wilson, my wide receiver 3 at 29. Wilson has the ability to win in contested catch situations. He can stretch the field. He's a good route runner. He's a little bit of an all-around receiver. He's a little bit thin, though. He's about, I think, 189 pounds or so. He's on the smaller side in terms of that. He's over 6 feet tall, obviously, so he's got the height, but just the weight is a little bit of a concern. Obviously, this is not like a Devontae Smith situation. It's not that extreme, but I think Garrett Wilson is going to be limited in terms of his ability to produce in the NFL. He's not going to be like I envision Jameson Williams at his peak being like a 1,400-yard receiver, a guy who will get 20 or like 17-plus yards per reception. I envision Drake London being a guy who will get you 10 touchdowns in a year and get you 1,300 yards and win all these contested catch situations. I can see Garrett Wilson winning in a bunch of different ways, but I just don't know if he's going to be able to master any single ability that's going to put him in that range. I think his floor is lower. I think his ceiling might be even lower than those two guys I mentioned earlier. And 30 overall, Kenneth Walker III. He's my RB1. Isaiah Spiller and Breece Hall are obviously right behind him, but Kenneth Walker III for now. is number one because he's got good contact balance. I saw the explosiveness he had this year, bursting through gaps, the ability to kind of finish through contact. I liked what I saw a lot from what I saw from him this year. The speed's not going to be like elite high-end speed, but he's got enough speed to kind of separate and pull away from guys, especially near line of scrimmage. His initial burst is tremendous, which is why I'm so high on him this year. We're going to cut it short here. We're going to end the video right now. If you want to see the rest of the top 300, again, go find that link. It'll be down below, and I'll also have it attached to my Twitter account. Again, that's Sam_Teats33. I maybe didn't do the best job of selling you on all these prospects today or on my rankings, but hopefully you can go check out for yourself. Again, it's all free. It doesn't cost you anything at all. Just please give it a shot and see if you like it. But for now, thank you all for watching, and I hope to talk to you all later.